All right, everybody, now that the World Junior Tournament has finally wrapped itself up here in August, of all places, and in the most dramatic sense possible, like seriously, that is one of the greatest World Junior highlights I have ever seen. Good on you, Mason McTavish. I thought I'd take a look at the prospects that, really impressed me during this tournament, the prospects that proved to me they're going to be NHL players and what role they might play in the NHL, and then finally the prospects that I didn't get the greatest feeling about after this tournament. I'm going to keep it a kind of short and quick video, however, but I'm really excited by this, and I had a wonderful time talking with everybody on the Discord and on Twitter about all of the tournament play as it was happening. So thanks once again just for all the support, everybody, and for being just such a fun and engaging community to be with. It's really awesome. So, without wasting too much time, let's just dive right in with Connor Bedard, who was arguably the most anticipated prospect at this year's World Junior Championship. He's a top prospect, and he's going to be a very good NHL player one day, but I just can't give him the generational player moniker. I've taken flack in the past for this, but that moniker gets thrown around a lot by media and fans these days, arguably way too much. Bedard showcased his elite shot that's made up of a lightning fast release, strong heavy shot qualities, and a low starting trajectory that makes it very hard for a goalie to track through traffic. He reminds me a lot of Auston Matthews with the way he wants to attack the slot, aggressively entering the zone, and his want to shoot, even if that means passing up on an open teammate. I'm very intrigued to see how well he does in December at the next tournament, and how he does this season in the WHL, as I feel like a lot of his production this tournament was him riding in Mason McTavish's wake and taking advantages of the opportunities he was providing him. Not to mention the way they were force-feeding him the puck in the early games, especially on the power play. He's definitely going to be one to watch this year as the #1 overall pick favorite, and this tournament didn't do anything to dampen any of that hype. But speaking of Mason McTavish, holy Canada, that might be one of the greatest World Junior plays of all time. And it really capped what was a fantastic tournament. I've been saying for a while that he's a great player. That shouldn't be new information. He was clearly a man amongst boys in this tournament, and that's because he's a bona fide NHL player right now. I've said it before, but I really think that he's going to end up the 1C in Anaheim, as his complete game and ability to drive offense using his teammates projects better there than Trevor Zegras' flash and high-end skill. Speaking of the Ducks, they had a heck of a tournament as they had multiple top prospects all play great roles. Let's go from their first round pick in 2021 to their second round pick in 2021, Owen Zellweger. The Canadian defenseman did what he does best. He drove offense. His stick work is fantastic, his instincts on when to shoot and where to move the puck are spot on, and his ability to read a play and know when he should jump up and drive the net was near perfect this tourney. The only thing holding him back from being an elite prospect is his defensive awareness, or should I say lack thereof. In the defensive zone, all of those instincts and ability to read a play just kind of disappear as he straightens out and puck watches. He needs to figure that out this year in Everett if he wants to be considered a potential top D pair player in the future, especially on a crowded Ducks blue line. I want to stick with Team Canada here, but I will say that the Ducks' third round pick, Sasha Pastujov, also played a good tournament for Team USA. That organization is just so stacked with the prospects. It's unreal. Alright, on to the next Team Canada player. Logan Stankoven did what he's done at every level before this one, which is score goals. I liked him as a first round talent in 2021, and I stand by that. His hockey sense lets him play with anyone, as his skating helps him make up for his lack of size. He's gonna score goals at the NHL level for Dallas, taking advantage of good matchups and just playing his game, which is good hockey. And if he's gonna be winning draws like he was in Edmonton at this tournament, that's gonna be really good hockey. Now let's head on south to Team USA and one of the players I liked from them the most, Matt Coronato. It was clear coming into last year's draft that he's the kind of player who's just gonna go out there and score goals, and guess what? He was a player who just went out there and scored goals. He's good at using his speed to put the defense back on their heels and can create a little chaos in front of the net. He's a fun player for sure, and Calgary's got a good one in their system. I made it no secret leading up to the 2022 NHL draft that Joachim Kemmel was my favorite prospect. His smarts and shot are so elite, and I really felt like the concerns about his size were overblown. There were legitimate questions about his ability to score net front and whether or not he was just a one-trick pony with his shot, but he definitely answered those in this tournament. He scored some dirty goals, he worked on his passing and setup duties so much, he even sometimes passed up good shooting opportunities just to try a pass. And he did all of this while keeping that rocket of a shot and elite hockey sense that keeps him involved in every play. Were there times, particularly in that gold medal game, that he would just enter the zone and rip off a 35-footer wrist shot? Yes, he needs to work on those. It's not good, okay? But when you factor in all of those other positives of his offensive game, as well as his ability to accept heavy defensive responsibilities, I don't know what more people need to see to get on board with labeling him a future star. Okay, the last player I'm going to talk about in this first section of players that really stood out to me in a good way and I enjoyed what they did at the tournament is Liam Öhgren for Team Sweden. He gave me just what I wanted to see. His shot was solid, his cycle work was solid, and he was often the smartest forward out there for Team Sweden, working his way into defensive gaps and using his strong lower body to operate net front. I think he's going to be a very solid NHL player, and I think the Minnesota system is going to be a perfect fit for him. And now for the group of guys who were good and cemented themselves in my mind as NHL players one day, but maybe not future stars. Think middle six type guys. I'm going to start with a name that might surprise some people here, and that's Kent Johnson, who was just Kent Johnson in this tournament. He made some fancy plays to make the highlight reels, but at the end of the day, he kind of just disappears for about 58 minutes a game. He didn't score at a pace many thought he would, and he only really felt like an offensive driving force for Canada 1 or 2 games. Granted, those were the last 2 games and arguably the most important, so you can factor that in if you want. I've been critical of him in the past, and I definitely stand by that after this tournament, as I think he needs to get more consistent and needs to learn to make an impact away from the puck. If you listen to those broadcasts, every time they talked about Kent Johnson, it was always him with the puck. What is he doing away from it, including in the offensive zone? He needs to work on that if he wants to be a guaranteed first-line player in the NHL. Looking around elsewhere, Thomas Borlo played very well and just finds a way of scoring points. He'll be a fun player to watch on a Sharks team that isn't going to have a lot of pressure on them this year, and I think that's going to suit him just fine. Really excited for what he can do. Isaac Rosen and Fabian Lysell both looked like versatile forwards that are going to produce for their respective teams at the NHL level, either down the middle or on the wing. I can see both of them settling into checking line roles at even strength, with some added power play time on second units in the future, and really that's all you can ask for. Brennan Othmann, dude is just a tank and will always be a tank. He'll be a great bruiser at the NHL level who has enough skill and smarts to hang with better players and provide them with space, which is certainly going to be something that the Rangers are going to look forward to having. And finally, Maki Semsokovic. I just saw visions of him flying around in a checking line role for the Panthers, wreaking havoc, and I fell in love with that vision. Not really anything else more to say about it. Okay, so now let's move into the players that I didn't think had a good tournament, and we'll call it that, alright? And I'm going to start this one off with Brad Lambert. Did he even play? I know he did, but only because I was actively looking for him at one point. This was a chance for him to show that last year's struggles were a fluke and that his draft slide was a mistake. Instead, he made it look justified, as there were no hints of the dynamic player we all thought he could be, as his passes were always late and his offensive presence was non-threatening. I really hope he's able to turn this slump around at some point, but I'm kind of starting to lose faith. Jesper Wallstedt had a rough tournament, both for his own reasons and because the team in front of him wasn't very good at helping him out. He seemed at times to have issues tracking the puck through traffic, or at least more so than some of his contemporaries. That said, he was able to escape most of the danger because of his solid positioning. His lateral movement and rebound control issues were not as easy to hide though, as the lack of support in front of him allowed other teams to exploit them. He still had a good tournament, I guess, but I just wanted to see him break out and really be a star, and he just wasn't. And finally, paging Jonathan Lekkerimäki, the flight home is leaving. Where were you? Alright everyone, so like I said earlier, gonna be a short and sweet video. Those were just the prospects that really stood out to me watching this tournament. Both, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just the guys who, like I said, proved to me that they're gonna be NHL players one day and that their team should be really happy and excited for that in the future. As always, please, if you could, like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future content, and that will include Former Scouts Take videos about next year's top prospects starting in December with Connor Bedard. Really excited to really dig into all these guys' games and make those scouting videos that I know everybody enjoys so much. Thanks again for all of the support through this last draft cycle, everybody. I really appreciated it. All the comments were great. I had a ton of fun making those videos, and this World Junior Tournament really just solidified how much I enjoy doing all of this stuff. So thank you all once again, and I will see you all next time.